330 or 340 studies show that women are at least as physically aggressive towards intimate partners as men.
So are you saying that there are as many cases of women being violent towards men in a relationship as there are men?
Yes, it's long been known. It's long been known. Say 330 studies, you know, which have been collected by Professor Martin Fiebert at the University of California, Long Beach. It's true across the developed world, and it's true in this country. It's known from crime surveys, or the Crime Survey of England and Wales more recently, that men suffer violence at the same sort of levels and at the same severity as women. And yet the support for male victims of domestic violence is virtually zero. And again, it's another driver of the high male suicide rate.
Okay, so Caroline, you quickly said there.
I mean, where to begin, Mike? I suppose when it comes to violence, you know, the problem with that is that it's hard to know how to engage with it because it's just not true. Men commit about 96%.
300 reports, he says.
Men commit about 96% of violent crime in the UK. So that's just crime statistics. I don't really know how you can argue with that. I'm coming on to domestic violence. Don't worry, Mike. With regards to domestic violence, you know, for example, a woman was killed every 2.38 days by a male partner in the UK. We just don't have those figures happening for men. Women aren't killing men at that kind of rate. For example, between April and September last year, 3 women were beheaded by men in London alone. Again, women just aren't doing that. Now, this isn't to say that men are evil and women are just virtuous, wonderful angels. Feminists would argue that this is a terrible thing, that men are brought up to behave in this way, and that it's hugely to do with the very high male suicide rate, and that obviously that's something that feminists would want to campaign against. With regards to custody, you know, feminists aren't very happy about women being assumed to be primary caregivers. That's actually something that feminists fight against. The problem is, currently in society, women are doing the vast majority of unpaid care work. If you look at the OECD figures from, I think, 2012, when men are the male earners, this is looking at heterosexual couples, when men are the male earners, women are doing the vast majority of unpaid care work, fair enough. When they're both sort of equal earning, women are still doing the majority. And it's only when women are the main earners in the household that they even pull equal, so that men and women are doing the same amount. So that's really more the reason why women are being awarded custody. It's because they're still having to do the majority of the care work. I would be very, very happy if Mike wanted to start a campaign, men for housework, men for childcare, really get in there, get their hands dirty, change those nappies, and, you know, then they'll start getting more custody. Feminists aren't pro women being considered, you know, natural caregivers.
Why did you present her with the award Lying Woman of the Month?
Well,
didn't I get it twice?
Caroline's won 2 of them. I'm sure she'd be proud of that.
Congratulations.
But I haven't won the Whiny Woman of the Month yet, which I'm quite upset. Oh, yes!
Caroline has won. Originally, we called them Whiny Women of the Month awards.
And, were they the same one?
And then no.
I thought there were 2 categories.
We started off with Lying Feminist.
I don't care what it's called.
Okay.
Why did she get it?
Why did she get it? She got it because she lied. And
I lied.
This was nearly 2 years ago. She called into a radio station and lied about the impact of having more women on boards. And more recently, she lied about the proportion...
On corporate boards?
On corporate boards. Yeah. And more recently, she lied on the New Statesman online website. It was later taken down, but it was captured, claiming that domestic violence was a major cause of death of women. And it's a radical feminist lie. And you know, if you deal with this stuff as much as I do, you realise that virtually everything that comes out of radical feminists, you know, they are either conspiracy theories, fantasies, lies, delusions, or myths.
Should women sacrifice having a family to ensure equality in the workplace? Nigel Farage seems to think so. His claims earlier this week that women make different choices from men for biological reasons has prompted quite a backlash. Let's see what he said.
If you're building a career, let's say in the broking industry, which is what I for most of my career here, you know, you are as valuable as the client base that sticks with you and will move with you. And in many, many cases, women make different choices in life to the ones that men make, simply for biological reasons. And if a woman who has a client base, has a child, and takes 2 or 3 years off work, she is worth far less to the employer when she comes back than when she went away, because that client base will not be stuck as rigidly to her portfolio. And I'm afraid I sometimes think that we look at the figures, the pay gap in a city between men and women and assume that it's still an old boys' club full of discrimination. Actually, pre-Big Bang, it was. No question about that. When I first worked in a city, it was a deeply sexist place. It really was. That's all gone completely. I don't believe in the big banks and brokerage houses and in Lloyd's of London and everywhere else in the city. I do not believe there is any discrimination against women at all. I think young, able women that are prepared to sacrifice the family life and stick with their career will do as well, if not better, than the men.
Controversial. With me in the studio is a woman who's been very successful in the city. Louise Cooper is a financial analyst and commentator and a mother. And is champing at the bit to discuss Nigel's comments. But first of all, Nigel, you said that... Well,
just get the ground rules here clear. If you're a television presenter, right, you can have a baby, and you can have a baby and come back, no problem. If you're a dentist, you can go. If you're a financial markets analyst, you can take time off and come back. If you're working on a brokerage desk, right, which I did for many, many years, I would not even take a fortnight's holiday because that was too long to be away from those accounts. So I was being very, very specific.
Except you said there was no sexual discrimination you believed against women in city firms.
Well, city firms...
What do you base that on?
City firms are far more hard-nosed and look at the bottom line. And I do not believe the reason women are paid less in the city is because we have gross discrimination.
Louise?
You know, I try hard not to lose my temper on air, and I really try hard not to insult people on air.
Don't hold back.
But I'm sorry, Mr Farage, for you, I'm going to make an exception. Because what you are saying is laughable.
Is it?
You are talking out of your bottom.
So why are women paid less,
Let Louise put the case.
And for all the working mothers out there who are battling day to day, and I know lots of them in the city, but not just in the city, but elsewhere as well, who are discriminated against, who are paid less than their male colleagues, who are looked over for promotion, I say on behalf of them, shame on you. And I say double shame on you because you actually have daughters. What kind of example are you setting to your daughters by saying what you said?
So are you saying that the banks and brokerage houses in the City of London are openly and clearly discriminating against women today?
Openly and clearly is difficult, but they are discriminatory. The point you make about maternity leave, OK? You say the word maternity leave, women go away for 2 or 3 years. I had a child, I had 4 months maternity leave. You know, the maximum you can take is 12. So why this, women go away for 3 years? So that's the first comment, maternity leave.
Yep.
Gardening leave. OK, so let me just explain what gardening leave. In the city, if you leave your firm, you can't start to work anywhere else for at least 3 months, very minimum. Most firms have 6, 12, 18 months of gardening leave, OK? So that costs the firm, because you leave on day one with your black bean bag, that costs the firm that you were hired with, and the new firm are willing to wait 6, 12, 18 months for you to turn up. So if it was so important for you to be there every second of the day and not have 3 months maternity leave, why does the whole city run on the let's poach other staff? Because clearly, and even more in the brokerage industry, there is a lot of gardening leave, and people and brokerage firms are willing to pay many millions to guarantee someone who will arrive in 6, 12, 18 months' time, which is far longer than maternity leave. So don't give me maternity leave. I say gardening leave back to you. And no one talks about that for discrimination against men.
Well, the reason gardening leave was put in place is because people know that actually any time away from accounts brings in and increases the level of risk. So that's the very reason gardening leave was introduced. Look, when I ran a brokerage company, I had a guy came to me one morning and said, Nigel, I'm resigning. I'm going to do the childcare at home because my wife's got a better job than me. And there are now 1 million men who are at home bringing up children. I'm making a general point that in a fiercely competitive world like the brokerage end of it, that women are disadvantaged if they have children. Now, that is a simple statement of fact. And
so there is discrimination against women who have children. That's what you're saying. In the city, they are discriminated
I'm
against.
making the point that lifestyle choice of having a family makes it harder to... It doesn't make it impossible, and there are some people that manage it, but that, I think, explains why women are paid less. Okay. I do not accept that the City of London now discriminates heavily against women.
I don't accept they did.
I don't accept that. No, I don't accept that at all.
Right, so you're saying women who have families are discriminated against. Women who decide to have children are discriminated against in the city.
They're not discriminated against. In a bottom-line business, they make it harder for themselves. It's simply a statement of fact.
Well, except